Good morning again, and what a beautiful morning. Look at the beautiful silhouette that it looked like a starling over there, but have a look at the clouds, that golden coloration as we wait for the sun to rise. Lovely morning on Djuma down in South Africa. My name is Byron, and it's on camera with me this morning is Sebastian, and we are, as I said, down in Djuma, and then we will have our team from the Mara joining us a little bit later. I think it's James and Taylor this morning, so they should be joining us shortly. And don't forget, everyone, we are live on Safari, so send us your questions and your comments via Twitter. Hashtag Safari Live is how you do it, and we'd love to hear from you and answer some of your questions. Now, we've just got started here. It is a cold morning on Djuma, or fairly cold. I'm all covered, bundled up. I've got gloves. It's about 15 degrees Celsius, about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is chilly, but it's very clear, it's beautiful, and I think we're going to get a wonderful sunrise very, very shortly. And in the distance, you can just see the morning fire, I suppose we could call it. Look at that. It's that golden fire on the horizon. Shortly we're going to get the sunrise. It's actually it's wonderful to see the change just in the last 5 minutes. And both myself and Sebastian were chatting about if we heard anything calling last night. Unfortunately not. Neither of us heard any predators like lions or leopards or hyena, but I did hear ground hornbills this morning, very not too long ago actually. It sounded like they were calling on the clearings above camp. Now, why I'm excited is because I'm doing a bird challenge. I'm sure most of you have been watching, you know about the bird challenge, trying to see how many birds we can get on camera before I leave on Wednesday. And I'm trying, we're on 91. We've got 91, and I'm so happy with that number already. But it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. Very challenging. And we need ground hornbills, so that's why I'm excited. I'm going to try and look out for them. Excuse me. But along the way, we'll see what else we can find. We were very lucky yesterday afternoon. We had a wonderful view of the big dominant male leopard in this area, Tingana. We got to see him. We saw elephant, and it was wonderful to see that big male. Followed him for a while. He posed beautifully for us. It's amazing how those male leopards, especially that big male, the distances he covers when he marks his territory, constantly patrolling territory. So it was nice to see him. I must admit, this is probably one of my favorite times of the morning, or of the day rather, this early morning, the bird chorus going, watching the sunrise. Well, we're going to sit here maybe a few more minutes, see if that sun rises, but let's go across to Taylor all the way in the Mara and see how her morning's going. I think she's got a surprise for you.
We have a surprise indeed. It's beautiful out here, Byron. And, well, I'm sure the birds are singing beautifully in South Africa too, and I hope that that sun pops out. But we seem to have some members of the Sausage Tree Pride who took down a zebra in the early hours of the morning. Good morning, everybody. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Nana, a.k.a. David. Haha, I thought I'd surprise you there with that one. You, of course, all the regular viewers, you'll know how we are quite silly around camp, and everybody has got about 150 different nicknames. Now, this is live, this is interactive, this is happening right now. So if you have any questions for any of us today, you can hashtag Safari Live or chat to us on the YouTube chat. Now, I must apologize up front. Unfortunately, we've had some comms issues, so we're on open mic. So the person's voice that you are hearing every now and then, other than mine and David's, is Madam Rebecca, sitting and directing, and I think Megan's up and about in the Sabi Sand too. Now, I am struggling with trying to learn the various prides out here, because every time I see the prides, they're all in different areas. However, James has given me the heads up, and he seems to think that because of this spot, it is part of the sausage tree pride. And these little ones are so hilarious this morning. They've obviously eaten, as you can see by the size of their swollen belly, and now they're playing with a zebra tail. But we'll sit here for a little bit because they're very funny. Let's go across to Byron now with the beautiful sunrise.
Yes. And look at that, the sun has stuck its head up from behind the horizon, just through the clouds. This is really spectacular. A wonderful start to a Monday morning, apparently. So Sebastian said it is Monday morning. We lose track of the days out here. Each day is the same. Well, the days, I mean, but obviously it's always different out here. But the days all roll into one, so it doesn't matter if it's weekend or weekday. And Paula, what I'll do right after the sunrise is head across to the Hyena Den, and hopefully we have some luck. We'll go and have a look around there. It's wonderful to see the sun on the horizon like that. You see how quickly it rises. Excuse me, everyone. Must be the cold air. It's just great to sit peacefully and listen to the sounds and watch the sunrise. Very beautiful. I can hear a chinspot batis calling in the distance. I can hear an African barred owlet down in the drainage line. It's quite far. I don't know if you'd be able to hear that, but I'm sure you will hear the chinspot batis and the Cape turtle dove. Oh, it's beautiful, Seb. Great, eh? The chinspot batis. Sometimes it only does 2 whistles. Okay. And then that Cape turtle dove. Work harder, work harder. And I trust those ground hornbills to go quiet. I haven't heard them again. That's lovely. Alright, well, we're going to make our way towards that Hyena Den now. Hopefully we have some luck. But in the meantime, let's head across to James with a lone wildebeest. That is very unusual for the Mara.
Good morning. And yes, it is lone, but it is not alone. I'm not sure that makes sense. But there it is. It is unable to move because its left front leg is broken, and it's trying to keep up with the little herd that's making its way down towards the south. Anyway, we're going to just follow its fate for a little while. While we do that, let me tell you that my name is James Henry. Hello, I greet you in the name of the Mara. Wonderful. And on camera today is Batters. Again, poor old Bat has been stuck with me for 4 sessions in a row. He started to look a bit pale and green about the gills. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter is how you can talk to us, and you can of course use the YouTube chat stream if you wish to ask us any questions or send us any comments. We'd love to hear from you during the course of this sunrise. Well, cloudy sunrise safari in this part of Africa anyway. Let's go back towards the Wildebeesten. There we are. And, of course, any predator worth its salt is going to spot that injury at, well, up to 2,000 yards. We watched it happen once, not 2,000 yards, 2,000 feet. We watched a lioness take down a sort of limping wildebeest bull. She spotted him limping from a very long way off. On the herd front, some interesting stuff. We think that most of the wildebeest have gone south, not necessarily permanently, but they certainly seem to have moved down towards the south of the Mara. They could easily come back tomorrow. But there's an enormous grouping of zebra around. You've seen Taylor this morning, I think, and you've seen her dead zebra. That's with the Sausage Tree Pride. And I'm very interested that there are so many zebra around when the wildebeest have headed down towards the south. I'm not sure what's going on there exactly, but we'll figure it out hopefully over the course of the next few days. So lots of zebra up here. My plan this morning is to pretty much traverse the river road down towards where it bends to the south. Then we'll probably follow it a little bit to the south and just see if we can't pick up on some of those enormous herds we saw yesterday. Signal should be a bit better in that area today because of one or two repairs that were done yesterday. And so we'll just see if we can't find where the main bodies of the wildebeest herds are. Now, Taylor is sitting with the Sausage Tree Pride, I think probably over where I'm pointing now, roughly. So let's go across there on the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
2, 3. Okay. James, I'm very impressed that you can count. That's fantastic. To 3 as well. That's a difficult number to get to. Rebecca, I'm not sure. Are we live? I just sort of started speaking. Okay, just checking. Right, so we are indeed sitting with the Sausage Tree Pride. It's quite entertaining. This is a lot of excitement happening this morning. The little ones seem to have a sugar rush now after they've eaten, and they are literally chasing tail at the moment. You can see one of the younger cubs has got the zebra tail in its mouth now. And I always find with young lion cubs that it is their favorite chew toy. Now, you and I would go to the pet store to buy our dogs and cats all sorts of things to play with. Out here they need to make do. They often carry logs around and bits and pieces of whatever was killed, but like I said, the tail is the best part, and they're chasing each other around. That little lion cub on the right hand side is very funny though.
How long will they keep the fresh kill playing and eating it, Yvette?
Now, Yvette, you're wondering how long will they keep feeding and playing with this fresh kill? Well, until there's nothing left of it. It wasn't a particularly big zebra. It was a juvenile. So I reckon they'll be feasting upon this maybe till, they've actually eaten quite a bit of it, maybe till tomorrow morning or very early hours of this morning. Yes, tomorrow morning. That's what I'm trying to say. And then they'll probably get up and look for something else to eat. One thing I have noticed, besides the one young cub having a beach ball of a belly, the others haven't seemed to indulge too much, just eating enough to sustain themselves. Perhaps they know, unlike the Sabi sand lion, where prey seems to be a little bit on the thin side at the moment with the buffalo not being around. Whenever they catch something, they eat as much as they can. But as I've been watching the lions, I haven't really seen many of them with the swollen bellies like this little one has. But there is so much food around, so it doesn't really surprise me. But this little one is very funny. It's the naughtiest little lion cub of them all.
Have an injury on its side, Michael?
Now, Michael, you spotted a little mark on that lion's side and you're wondering if it has an injury. I don't think so. I think it might just be a little bit of blood from the zebra. I noticed that one of the lionesses, she's off away now, she had a similar thing. And it's been running around, racing around. So even if it is a small cut, it doesn't seem to be affected by it at all. But it was jumping and leaping about on the carcass. There you go, lioness going back in to feed a little bit more. You see that? So they've been feeding most of the morning. We must have just missed this. We had to bunker down because the rain came about And unfortunately we couldn't keep driving and we lost our lions, and we found these ones on this kill. So I don't know how long they've had it for, maybe a couple of hours ago. But it's just such a beautiful scene out here with all the trees, the escarpment, the golden grass. I really can't get enough of it. And there she's munching away. Now I'm trying to figure out where the other lioness has gone. No, she disappeared. She went on a bit of a walkabout. I don't know where the closest water source is from here. Normally after a good meal they will go and drink water. However, they are getting quite a bit of their water supply from the blood of that zebra. So it's not necessary to go and sort of hydrate yourself straight away. There we go, little one practicing stalking. And this won't last for too long. They've eaten. Eventually they're going to tire themselves out and then they'll rest. They might have to move though, because if the sun peeks through the clouds, there's a bit of cloud cover, they're going to have to move somewhere else. There they go again, running after one another. Right, I think we're going to move off from these lions and see what else we can find. Let's go to Byron. I don't know what he's got.
Oh, have a look, everyone. I just arrived at the Hyena Den, and there is someone home. This is the young, or youngish cub, not the completely young one that we saw last time, but this is, how old is this one, Sept? It must be about 3-4 months old,
yeah,
I think.
Yes, around there, yeah.
Is this the one I think they called Ntima?
The playful one.
I think so. I'm not sure. I haven't seen any other hyena around here, so I don't know. This is I think only the second time I've seen this one. The last time was about a month ago, so there's no adult around the den at the moment that I can see. Maybe on the other side. We haven't had a look on the other side yet. No. Chris Rogue, you say this is Ntima, so yeah, we're right. One of the young cubs, but I actually don't know if there's one or two other really young cubs. They are still black in coloration because they are so young. We saw one the other day with the adult. It was busy suckling outside the den. It's always nice to see the young hyena. I do think the young hyena are very cute. Yes. Looks a little lonely. Kyle, you were asking if the hyenas are related to dogs. Kyle, studies and scientists have shown that the hyena are actually more closely related to cats, believe it or not. Obviously they take a look at teeth, foot structure, DNA, but they reckon that it's more closely related to cats than to dogs. But not in the feline family at all. Obviously they're in their own family, Hyena Den. Oh, you can hear the francolins making a noise, crested francolins. So loud. Isn't that a wonderful view of that hyena? Beautiful golden light on it now. Phew, hopefully it warms up a little, but it's still quite chilly. Patty, you asked if the hyena cubs are in danger while the mother's gone. So, Patty, it's highly unlikely that a predator will come through and just try and get the cubs at the den. Usually if the cubs run down into the den, they would be safe in there. And Patty, to be honest, I've never experienced hyena cubs being killed at the den. I've never seen it. I haven't heard of it. Maybe if lions stumbled upon the den and saw this youngster, it could potentially be in danger, but it would just turn and run back into one of these holes, and then the lions would most likely not be able to get it. They wouldn't fit in there. So Paddy, I don't think they are in danger, and like I say, from what I've seen in the past, hyena cubs are left at the den regularly while the adults go off and scavenge, and they return once or twice a day. And Sky, you were wondering if the cubs raise themselves. No, not at all. They're very reliant on the adults. Adults return to the den, the female, the mother at least, the alpha female, she will arrive back at the den and suckle the cubs. And then once they get to an age that they're able to move around with the clan or with an adult, they'll follow that adult around and try and scavenge food.
Is that the ground hornbill?
It is. Can hear those ground hornbills again. They're taunting us this morning. We'll have to try and find them. I've been trying to think and rack my brain of birds that we still need, that we might be able to get, but I can only think of about 4 or 5. Although we've been surprised by some wonderful new birds. Well, you asked how many hyena will occupy a den like this. Now, I read somewhere, and I can't remember if it was in this book that I've got here. I'm going to look it up quickly, Will. But some clans can get really large, and you can get up to 15 or 20 hyenas moving together in certain areas. I'm sure up in East Africa they've got big clans, and we can ask James and Taylor about that. But regularly, now the hyena usually only have, the female gives birth to 1 or 2 cubs. It's very rare to have more. I think I've seen 3, but usually it's 1 or 2. But then what will happen is she may allow kind of a beta female, so the next in line in terms of the hierarchy, she will allow them to give birth or mate and give birth to cubs, and those cubs will also be raised at the den. So I'm trying to think. The most youngsters I've seen at a den, I think about 6 or 7, varying in age, but about 6 or 7 youngsters around a den, and then some adults. So it varies constantly. It varies all the time. I don't know exactly. I can't give you an exact number because it changes. But I mean, here at the moment, from what I know, from what I've seen one adult female here. I've seen this youngster, and I've seen that other younger one. That's probably only a few. I thought it was about 3 to 4 weeks old, judging by the coloration, maybe a month old. But we didn't get a good look at it, so I've only seen 3. But I'm sure the other hyena do return to this den at some point. The other clan members of this clan. Alyssa, as I was just mentioning now, and it's probably answered your question, is you asked, is it common for hyena to just have one cub? So it is. It's more common for them to have 1 or 2 cubs than more than that. They usually only have 1 or 2. No, those hornbills are still calling in the distance. It's starting to warm up a little bit now as the sun rises and goes higher into the sky. Very pleasant, wonderful morning. Seb, if I doze off, just tap me on the head, won't you? Very relaxing. And as I mentioned earlier, this is one of my favorite times of the day. These early mornings, these cool winter mornings. I know we are in spring, but it does feel like a winter morning. It's nice and warming up now after being quite cold. Alright, I'll sit here for a few more minutes and see if we have any sign of the other youngster. But let's head across now to Taylor, who's got some beautiful elephant in the Mara.
I have got an elephant in the Mara, and I never thought that I would have an elephant. Oh, sorry, Darby. My bad. So what happened there is I've got my earpiece back in because my comms are working, and then I forgot to tell David that they were linking. Sorry, Darby. I got distracted by Maurice here. Maurice, safety first when you're in the Mara, because you know that I can drive quite quickly sometimes. So safety belt. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to manhandle your trunk like that. Be a bit more careful. You know how sensitive elephant's trunk is. Sorry, Maurice. Maurice has also got the lid of my flask as a chair so that he can sit on nicely. David, stop making me laugh. He's giggling away. Now I'm starting to giggle too. Now I'm distracted. I don't know where I'm going. I'm actually going to stop because I want to just show you the most beautiful scene. Look at all the hot air balloons. Look at those hot air balloons all in a row, meandering down the river. And I'm sure they're seeing wonderful things from above. Now, Mita, my young friend who's only 8 years old, was wondering if I got any sleep. Well, a little bit, Mita. So that probably explains my silliness today. But I'll be okay because I can go to bed after the safari ends this morning. But thank you very much. Mita, aren't you up quite late? Don't you have school in the morning? Now you're making me concerned. But I have got a surprise for you. I'm going to introduce Maurice to his family, so just hold on tight. There's a herd of elephants probably about 80 meters from here, so we'll quickly head on around and let's see if this is Maurice's original family. Perhaps they're already communicating with one another through infrasounds. I'm not sure. They don't seem to be looking this way just yet. We'll go around, we'll be there in about 2 seconds. Not really 2 seconds. 2 shakes of a lamb's leg is what my dad always says when he's uncertain about a time frame. Oh, there's a tiny little elephant in that herd. What I will do is I'll stop here just so we can get a quick look, and then we'll try and get around to them. Oh wow, that's amazing. You're going to have elephants and the hot air balloons. Now they're a little bit of a way away. That's not an elephant, those are topi. There they are. Just a small group of elephants, and in between the two big ones in front, you will see another pair of little legs and a little trunk and a little tail, about the size of Maurice. It's a very young elephant, sticking close to Mom. Isn't that beautiful? Maurice, what do you have to say? It's very rude, shouting like that. I suppose that Maurice was getting excited. Were you getting excited? I was going to try and make his legs move, but that didn't work. Isn't this cool? You might even be able to hear the shh of the hot air balloons as they sort of pump a little bit more air in them or let the flames out. I wonder if there are lions down that way, because I did hear some roaring, so that's where we're heading. Look at that. Isn't that spectacular? I wonder if the elephants ever dream of going in a hot air balloon. They won't be able to, but Maurice might be able to go in a hot air balloon one day. Oh! So, Mita, I was obviously a bit worried about you being up so late and wondering if you had school in the morning, but apparently it's a public holiday. It's Labor Day. That makes all the sense then. Should we go and find the rest of the elephants? There's another herd and they're right up on the road in front of us. So it's actually not a small herd at all. Maybe a big group traveling together. But we are going to carry on heading away this side, getting a little bit of drips on our head now. And we're going to sit with these elephants and say hello to them and spend a bit of time with them. We're going to go across to James now. He seems to have found some lions looking very regal.
I'd love to say I'd found them, but in actual fact what happened was that we saw a gathering of vehicles, which is basically the method of tracking used here in the Mara. These are two youngish males. Is that a third? There's not a third one over there, is it, Craig? I think it might be just a bushel. Just over there. Looks like a sort of coiffeur sticking out. No, it's a rock. Never mind. Forget it. And I've seen these chaps before. One of them has that collar. If you go up to, not that one, the other one has the collar. And so they're used extensively, obviously, to do research on the lions in this area. And they lurk around this area quite a lot. And we're quite close to cul-de-sac crossing. And the other creatures that are around here quite a lot are some buffalo. Can we get them, or have I parked you beautifully in front of the pole, Craig? Oh, you're right there. There are some buffalo. And the last time I saw these lions, they were kind of interacting with 3 or 4 buffalo bulls. I'm pretty sure it's the same bunch, and clearly there has been no further attempt by the lions to have a go at the buffalo, and that's because they're just a bit big in the context of the Mara, given the amount of other stuff there is here for them to eat. There we are. These funny old buffalo bulls. As I've said to you often before, I think that being a buffalo bull in the Mara infinitely preferable to being one at Djuma, where the Nkahuma Pride has you at the top of the menu, and here you're very low down on the menu choice. There we go. So let's go back to these chaps and just try and see what ages I think they are. They're possibly from the same pride. They might not be. It looks like the one with the collar, who's now fast asleep despite the earliness of the morning, is... Yeah, I think he's a little bit younger. I'd put him at about 3 years old, and I'd put his mate at about 3.5 to 4, actually. And we might just try and sneak around and see if we can't get a view of the other one's mane. Once there's a vehicle just in front of us, it's going to move off. So we've come onto the river now, thinking about where the herds are, and we have found zero evidence of them here. So we're going to continue on our mission. We'll just do 1 or 2 more segments probably with these lions, see what they do. But while we move the vehicle, let's head across to Taylor and her elephants.
We found the rest of them. They're not really doing too much at the moment. I thought they were going to march on towards us once they got the scent of Maurice, but apparently Maurice does not smell like a real elephant, so they are just feeding at the moment. Now, I'm really intrigued by how long the elephant cow's tusks actually get out here. This looks like a young... no, it does look like a cow. She hasn't got particularly large tusks, but we have seen some with beautiful long tusks. And the reason why I find that interesting is obviously elephants use their tusks as digging tools. It's very important. They can dig for water, they can dig for roots, they can dig for bulbs. Now, in the Sabi sand in South Africa, we see elephants doing that on a regular basis, especially at this time of the year, not that time of the year, it's winter now. And out here, there's so much grass available for them, which is the preferred diet of elephants. They are mainly grazers, and then they will substitute their diet with leaves and fruit and all that type of thing. So I wonder why they've got such long tusks. Why do they need to have them if they're not really using them for digging as much as the elephants in the Sabi sands? It's quite amazing here. It's the same reason as why do the zebras not have shadow stripes. I still haven't quite worked that out just yet. But they're moving along, and they're big here. The elephant cows are massive. If you remember my last couple of elephant sightings that I had in the sands, we were very lucky. We saw 3 or 4 enormous cows, and I was telling you how they don't really get much bigger than that, and that's an average size up here for an elephant cow. So I can't wait to see some of the big bulls. I haven't actually seen any big bulls at all. I've seen some sort of teenagers, some youngsters just sort of reaching their 20s, but nothing really older than that. So that's going to be next on my list as we drive around. I'm also going to try and find the jackal den. However, I can't seem to open the pin on my phone, so I might have to ask Rebecca to resend it to me. I saved the location so that I could find it. We are looking for lions, of course, and we're looking for the herd, so there's nothing much around here, so we'll move out of this area and hopefully go a little bit further south. No, Maurice, you're getting dripped on. That's terrible. Our roof is just blown around and it's now dripped all the rain on Maurice's head. Well, Maurice is not very happy about that, and he's shaking his head around because his hair is wet. So we're going to send you across to James and his lions while I dry Maurice off.
And there they are. So we've got a better view there now of these right special animals. And this one you can see very clearly is much older than the other one. I think he might actually be about 5. So they're probably not related. And Taylor said she heard lions calling towards the river. I would be surprised if these guys were calling. They're right smack bang in the middle of the Four Musketeers territory. And for those of you who don't know, the Four Musketeers are the dominant lions of this particular area. They include the inimitable Scarface, possibly the most famous lion in all the universe. And yes, indeed, all the universe. And his brothers Ezekiel, Hunter, and I think, what is the other one? One that means Mohawk. And I keep wanting to say Nana, but Nana, of course, is the warrior from the Birmingham Boys, but it's a similar word. Anyway, the 4 of them ply these areas. And so I don't think these 2 were probably calling. Now, Lisa, you're wondering at what age a male lion develops a large mane. Well, it will reach its maximum sort of puffiness, I suppose, around about 8 or 9 years old. And then it just keeps getting longer. And so old male lions often have kind of these, how would we describe it? We describe it, I suppose, as a parting that goes down from the top of the head down towards the shoulder blades and in between the shoulders where the hair falls on either side of a sort of parting because it gets so long. You can see there that that's still sticking up. But eventually that will get long enough to part over the course of the years. And that is really when you know a lion's getting on. That'll happen sort of 14, 15 years old. And that's unusual for a male lion to get to that age. But not impossible. And of course, if they stay injury-free and they have enough to eat and they don't have too many things to go, well, or too much in the way of competition, then they can survive. We're going to head across to Byron now, who's got something very, very rare to show you. It's got a red face, looks like a turkey, but as far as I'm aware, no one's ever eaten one.
hornbills we spoke about. I'm going to go a bit closer. I didn't want to chase them off, but that is a new bird for our list, the ground hornbills. We heard them calling this morning. We just couldn't pinpoint exactly where it was. There's a lovely clearing that they were moving through at the moment looking for food, and I think we're going to have lovely views of them. It's always nice seeing these ground hornbills. They are so rare and endangered, so this is very special. Let me just try to stop Seb. I wonder, maybe down here we might have a better view. I can see 1, 2, 3. I thought I saw 4. 5, yeah. 6. Oh yes, there's another one. Wow. Here we go. That's a wonderful group of ground hornbills. 6 ground hornbills that we can see. There we go. They are very strange looking birds. Very prehistoric, I think, the ground hornbills to an extent. Just off to the left, you'll see the others. There we go. Wonderful. So we are on 92 species. 92 species we've managed to find in the last week, just over a week. Yeah, no, it's about a week, I said. 7 or 8 days.
Yeah.
So very excited about that. This bird challenge has been a lot of fun. Now it's amazing to watch these ground hornbills. They'll often walk around like this. It's known as a phalanx. When they walk almost in a line, they'll walk through the grass and look for insects, rodents, reptiles. They'll feed on all those creatures. Just disappeared there. Oh, that's weird. I wonder, there must be a little dip. I've got that wonderful booming sound. Well, Jenny Animation, you asked if it's possible for animals to be endangered not due to humans but because of habitat loss. Well, Jenny, indirectly, habitat loss is caused by humans. That's the only thing that causes habitat loss is us. Unfortunately, the human race, I think, sometimes it's very sad because we feel the need at times to constantly grow and constantly take over natural areas, disturb natural areas, and we don't think about the repercussions. And loss of habitat is massive, or is a massive factor for the decrease of a lot of animals. Wild dog, the African wild dog, yes, and animals like birds, like these ground hornbills. There's a lot of conservation that goes into the ground hornbills though. They're just moving off now. I'll talk more about the ground hornbills shortly, but let's head across now to James, who's watching 2 beautiful male lions.
Yes, they are beautiful, and as much research is done into ground hornbills, you'll find in the Mara there is an equal amount done to lions, such as that one with the collar, which brings us neatly to Michael's question. And the question from Michael is, how do the researchers get the lion's collar off? Michael, what they do is the same way they put it on. Basically, they dart the lion with a drug of some sort, hopefully not particularly addictive, and that will put the lion to sleep. They'll then quickly rush in, take it off, and then give them an antidote, and he'll wake up again. Of course, the difficulty is if they're lying like this, you can't dart them both. Well, you could, but you don't need to. You don't want to unnecessarily sort of put them all to sleep. So it would be slightly traumatic. They would separate them. Probably they might put out a bait. It's possible they'd put out a bait of something to sort of attract them. But quite often they will just sort of drive in there and kind of separate them from each other. Like if, as we saw them where they were there, split apart like they were, they'd dart the one and then kind of drive in between them and make sure that the other chap didn't come over to his mate. And although they're looking very matey there, you will find that if there was a threat and one thought the other was being threatened by something like a human being, he'd scarper. He wouldn't hang around to help his mate. So, yeah, that's how they do it. Now, Alair, you want to know what research the collar is used for? Well, it's all sorts of research, and I mean, I'm not sure specifically what they're doing with these two male lions, but the collar is simply a way for them to find the lions easily. So that it'll give off a ping once a day, and that ping will go to a satellite, which will in turn give the positions of the lions. So you can tell their movements, you can find them if you want to come and see what they're eating, you can find them if you want to come and see what the relationship between these two males is like. It's basically just so that they can find the lions easily without having to spend hours tracking them. I must confess, it seems to me, and I don't know a lot about it, but, it seems to me that the technology is fairly primitive, given that it won't ping if there's cloud cover, for example. It has to be clear skies, and yet we are broadcasting a high-definition signal out of here, sort of on a permanent basis. The big thing with those collars, though, of course, is that they have a limited battery life, which means they cannot be on all the time. They have to be on a timer where they turn on, send a ping, and then turn themselves off again. Otherwise, the batteries run out. And sometimes they will then take the collar off, and sometimes they'll then dart the line and replace the battery. But it seems to me that by 2017, we should be able to do something, A, subcutaneous, and B, something that can see through the clouds. I mean, we're able to tell where these vehicles are on GPS, my Google Maps, which is completely free, of course. But for the information, they no doubt lift off me without my knowledge. But for that, it's completely free. And it can tell me where I am, doesn't matter how big the clouds are above. So, I'd quite like to sit down with one of these researchers and say, listen, why is it that the technology, it might be that, it just has to be particularly robust, and so it has to be fairly primitive to be on those animals. But it does do valuable stuff, and of course it cuts down on the amount of time you have to spend driving around looking for creatures like this. And I think there's a vehicle over there that's actually spending their time observing what's going on with these chaps. And then a question from the final control. Rebecca wants to know if they put the same collar on the same lion, or if they swap between the two so that they don't stress, they don't stress one out more than the other. And the answer is no, they wouldn't do that, because they'll be researching specifically the one lion, and by default then the other. But if you swap them around a bit, what happens is, of course, you're not going to know what's happened to the original one. So if this coalition splits, which it could easily do, then it's not going to be nearly as easy to follow what happens with them. So the idea here would be to follow the fate of that one lion. He's joined up with a coalition of another one, and while by default you'll be able to follow the fate of this coalition because you're following the one, you want as much information on the one lion as you can the other, because if they split up or something like that, your data will be, I think, quite severely compromised by having swapped them from animal to animal. Does that make sense at all, Rebecca, in the final control? Oh, good. And Chitty Chatty, I was hoping no one would ask this question, but you've said, what white flowers are those behind the lions? I don't know what they are. They look like they're almost some kind of exotic, but I don't think they are exotic. I think they are just a pioneer species that's grown in amongst this quarry. But Judy H., my floral teacher, might be able to tell us. I actually didn't check Twitter yesterday to see if she got back to me on the other flower. I asked her yesterday. I'll do that in the meantime. Now, these chaps are heading off to the river. We're going to do the same via a little road that goes around the other side towards Cul-de-sac Crossing. While we do that, let's head across to Taylor, who apparently is so lacking in content for some reason right now that she's with a stuffed toy.
James, that's terrible people also have a bone to pick with you putting dear Maurice face down in the dashboard. That's very nasty. I heard all about it last night, and Maurice is not very happy about that. I've actually got some wildebeest, except they cut across the open area, so we're going to cut across on another road and catch them. And while we try and find some lions and some big herds of wildebeest, we're going to play a game. So Mita, I know that you're watching, and I think you might enjoy this one. It's a challenge that I've never been able to complete, but perhaps today will be the first time in history that Taylor and Maurice complete the Ugly Five. How does that sound? So we're going to start off with the first member of the Ugly Five, and that is the wildebeest. But let me just get up a little bit further ahead so they sort of walk in a line towards us. I think that's going to be quite cool. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Ugly Five is, we will often talk about the Big Five. I don't think you need any introduction to that. But the Ugly Five is wildebeest, warthog, hyena, marabou stork, and vultures. I think it could be a fairly easy challenge to tick off. Let's just hope we can find them all now that I've set myself this challenge. Wildebeest, stop walking so quickly. We're going to get a spot now. Almost there. Woo! Okay, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There they are. That's nice, because you've got the escarpment as well. I like the escarpment. I want the escarpment to be in every single shot. It's so pretty. Now, not a particularly big group of wildebeest. It's a small herd, and they're on the move. They are heading south, I think, to rejoin where most of the herds have gone. I can't believe that just 2 days ago this area was filled. I mean, you could barely see the grass. There were so many wildebeest moving around, and they just move so quickly. But I think they'll be back. I think with all the nice green vegetation that's going to come up after the rain, there's been quite a bit of rain. Again, I said to you last night, actually the early hours of this morning, it poured with rain. So they should come back, hopefully this way, but all walking one behind the other, marching, not really stopping to graze just yet. They're on the move. Now, white-bearded gnu, I haven't actually had an opportunity to even look at their weights, at how much they weigh, but they definitely look much smaller than the blue wildebeest or the brindled gnu. So I wonder how much smaller they are in comparison. But let's very quickly go across to James and a lone wildebeest.
Well, there is a lone wildebeest, everybody, and he's just over here. I'm just trying to get into a position where I can see the lions as well. He's heading straight past the lion sighting. And while those lions certainly don't look very hungry, if they spot a lone baby wildebeest like this, it is highly likely that they will have a go. And I think they've moved off, and I think they're just unsighted now. And I think this little chap might be lucky. He might just be able to get by them without them even noticing. I don't suppose he's going to last much longer, though, on his own like this. How he's managed to lose 100,000 of his friends, I really don't know. It is a little bit, well, astounding, frankly. Let's just move out the way here. There's a car coming. I'm just going to get into a position where we can... The lions have moved off, you see, towards the river now. And so they're going to miss this chap, I think. We'll just see if we can't see where the lions are. This guy could not have timed his pass over this area more skillfully than he has. I'm just going to stick my head up over the top here. And the wildebeest is walking away. The lions... No, the lions have definitely moved off down towards the river. Shame. But he's heading sort of towards them. Don't go that way, fellow. Go the other way. And I'm just trying to see what don't know if there's another road down towards the river. But if he goes the other side of the road here, this little fellow, which he's doing, he's heading straight towards them. Oh, he's now running straight towards them. But where they are right now, I don't know. Oh, goodness. Bex, we can't go off-road here, so I can't follow him, I'm afraid. Becca's just asking if we should go live to Facebook with this. I mean, we can, but the jeopardy of the hunt is it doesn't exist because, of course, we can't follow him. Alrighty, we're going to go... Bex, he's going to disappear over this hill. I can't follow him from there. Sorry about that, everybody. This jeopardy in the final control, as Rebecca says. If we could follow him off-road, I would absolutely say we should definitely go live. I think what we're going to try and do, Bex, is try and get around this little hill, figure out where the next road is. In fact, I can see one down there. I'm going to drive very quickly around to the next hill and see if we can't get him coming over the top of this little rocky knoll. Kim, you want to know if there's any reason the wildebeest would leave the herd? Why? No, I don't think so. I think they could get separated during a hunt. It's entirely possible that something like that could have happened. I don't know, maybe he fell asleep. That's a stupid answer. I don't think he fell asleep. But I really couldn't tell you why it is that he should have disappeared or have left his herd. It does seem very strange. I'm just going to try and find a road around here that'll take me round, because this is a non-off-roading zone, unfortunately. It would have been so fascinating to follow him off-road. Hopefully one day, when we have built our reputation slightly around here, we'll be granted a little more access to off-roading areas. But at the moment, as with the rest of the punters, we must obey all the rules. Well, we are but one of many punters. Is that not the case? Craig, that was to you, yes. Yes, good. Well done for realizing that we are just punters. Come on, you old bat, move. Right, round the corner we speed. I know it's a little bit windy and rough. Sorry about that. Let's just follow the story for a little while longer. Yes, we are getting around this little rocky prominence. The lions should come into view fairly soon. Yes, there are the lions. But the wildebeest very cleverly not moving towards them. Not cleverly, blind luck. In fact, is that one of the males? Yeah, it is. Let's just stop here. I'll show you what's going on. So there are the two male lions coming down towards over the rocks. Superb English, that. And the wildebeest is the other side of these rocks. So I think that these fatzos are not going to see him unless he changes direction again, which he could very easily. John, you want to know why we off-road in some areas, what they term in this area high-use zones, and so that where there are there is a lot of vehicle activity around the crossings, all along the rivers, and so if everyone was allowed to off-road in those areas, well, it would just look like, it just wouldn't look very nice. It'd be a huge amount of vehicle activity. There'd be ruts everywhere. The grass would be affected, and so that's why. In the areas away from the rivers, where there isn't so much vehicle activity, then one or two vehicles going off-road doesn't tend to have much effect on the ecology of the area. The lion is now moving away from where the little wildebeest has gone. But that is not to say that there are not other lions around here. Let me just move so that Craig can get a decent view of him. All right, I believe that Byron is about to go and climb a tree, so let's head across to him now. He's apparently found something that has got flat feet.
That those lions decided not to do anything. I think that Wildebeest was quite lucky to move away from the lions by the sounds of things, those lions that James has got. But we have headed down towards one of the dams, and we've spotted some of my favorite animals. Now hold on a second, we're going to go around and get to them. They're just on the other side of the road, or the drainage line rather. Oh, James said apparently we're going across to Byron with something that has flat feet like me. James is very brave when he's all the way in the Mara. Mara. James. Oh, let's have a look. The elephant should be around here. They weren't too far up ahead. Looked like a nice herd. Hopefully they didn't move away. We saw them very clearly from the other side of the road, or the other side of the drainage line. Yeah, they are. There's actually a few down here too. Oh, wonderful. Nice group of elephant. Let's just try to see if we can get... Oh, you know what, Sept? There's some more coming through there. So I think... Let me stop here and wait. Can you get these on the left so long, and then these others on the right are coming through, and I saw one or two youngsters. Now, I had a question yesterday about the baby elephant, and if the baby elephant have got white feet. No, I wasn't too sure. I've never seen the feet of an elephant as they are born, but it appears as if they do. So as they are born, the elephant's little feet are still very, very pale, very white. And I think one of the reasons is that they're very soft, so as to not hurt the females when they are in the belly. And they are very light and white. Oh, Seb, that's so nice. Look at that little one. That's right, Mita, aged 8. Yesterday you were asking that question, Mita. So apparently, Mita, they do. Seb, have a look off to the right here now. Oh, yeah. I think we've got some nice light in those ellies. And they are heading this way. So Mita, yeah, it appears as if the elephant, the baby elephant's feet are white in coloration when they are born, but they change very quickly from what I've seen. Their feet change color to that greyish coloration. Chatty Meg, you say you're excited about the elephants, and yeah, for elephants you always find them so calming. They are my favorites. That's a nice young one, probably about a year and a half, 2 years old maybe. 2 years old, I would say, judging by the size. It is very peaceful still. It's still a bit chilly. Well, when we drive, there's a chill in the air. But now that we've stopped with the sunlight, it's warming up slightly. Jim, you were asking at what age do the tusks start to appear? So I think, Jim, you should start seeing some little tusks at about 3 or 4 years old. Perhaps. I think some elephant develop tusks a bit sooner than others. And I think, they've already probably got little milk tusks in that, but you should start seeing them protruding from about 3 or 4 years old. It's a lovely view of them. Well, that was a nice surprise. We said we'd try and find some more elephant and a whole herd, mostly females and the youngsters and the babies in a herd like this. You do occasionally get a few younger bulls, young males, that will move around with the herd, but eventually they move off and go and try to be big dominant bulls and move around, sometimes in small bachelor groups, maybe 2 or 3 bulls together, and look for females. But in herds like this, it's mostly the females and the youngsters. Now let's go across to Taylor with the Scavengers of the Mara, and we'll stay with these elephant for as long as we can.
Well, Byron, I'm very happy that you have got the Sabi sand elephants. They're still my absolute favorite. We have got another member of the Ugly Five. It is a hyena on a last-minute patrol, moving through the long grass, seeing if it can find any scraps to nibble on, but it seems to be unsuccessful so far. I think we're going to be sort of finishing this challenge sooner than I thought, because just up to the top left there is a tree. It has a bird sitting on it, and that tree, I don't know what that tree is, I can't see from here. There's a vulture actually just sitting on the top right hand corner of that shrub. So there we go, there's another member. So we've got 3 of the Ugly Five. We are now just missing the marabou stork and what was the other one? A warthog. Warthog maybe will be challenging, but we'll see if we can find them. That's very cool. Beautiful vultures just sitting up there. No, I can't see from here. I wonder if that's a Ruppel's vulture, or if it is the white-backed. We're so far away. We must be about, I can't tell you how far away we are, so I can't see the color of the eye. I think it's probably a white-backed vulture. It doesn't look overly massive. The Ruppel's vulture also slightly bigger. And then the white back, but let's carry on. I actually saw a marabou stork. Let me see if I can find it again. David, I think if you go across this little shrub here, there's quite a big tree in the distance, and to the left of that, there's something moving through the grass. Yeah, perfect. If you go a little bit to the right. Not the zebi. It's coming up. There we go. Right hand corner of your screen. There. Is that it? Is that what I'm after, or is it a vulture? Oh no. Yes? Put your head up, bird, so we can see who you are. There we go. There is the marabou stork. Definitely the ugliest of the Ugly Five. Massive beaks though. Now I don't know if you get armored ground crickets here in Kenya, but that's what they used to feed on in Zambia. That was one of their favorite things, but they do of course hang around the carcasses and feed on all that decaying meat too. But a large portion of their diet is insects as well. I'm looking for the crickets. I haven't seen too many insects around. Yes, there we go. Now we just need to get the warthogs. That could be challenging, especially because it's an overcast, cool day today. We know that they don't necessarily like the cooler weather, so they might stick to their burrows, but we'll keep looking. So Byron, of course, as you know, is sitting with the elephants of the Sabi sand. Let's go back across to him and see if he's going to get any close encounters.
Alright, well, we're still sitting with these ellies. They've been very kind and hanging around for us at the moment. I just heard a pearl-spotted owlet calling. Trying to see if I can spot it, but I think it was a little bit too far away from us. Well, good luck, Taylor, with your challenge that you've challenged yourself to. Trying to find the ugly 5. I think that's very harsh. This pearl-spotted owl is calling non-stop. Sorry, Seb, I'm moving around quite a bit. I'm trying to... You know, everyone knows how much I enjoy these little owls. I'm trying to see if I can spot it. Doesn't sound that far, but I think it's actually low down in some of these shorter or smaller trees, rather. John, only in Disney movies. He asked if the mother or the young elephant ever hold the tail of the mothers. I've only following them. That's in a Disney movie. It doesn't happen out here. I haven't seen it. Sometimes they touch each other when they're walking, but it's not a case of holding the tail to follow one another. Sept, shall I try to move forward a little bit for you? Maybe you can get a better view of this ellie over here. So no, John, that doesn't happen like you see in those Disney movies. I mean, like I said, there we go, that's a bit better. Like I said, I've seen them walk and touch one another, but they don't actively hold and try and follow each other. It's a nice herd, this. They spread out through this area. I was just having a look now. Well, this female, it's quite a large female. This one that we're viewing here. But someone said to me, well, it should be easy to identify some of the elephants also by the tusks, and that the females' tusks are generally straighter and the males tend to face outwards. But have a look, this female's tusks, you can see they twist and face outwards slightly. So that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, it might be a kind of a general theory, but it can change. Look at that young one. A great granny, good morning to you. And you were asking about the tusks when they come through with the young elephant. Do they experience almost like a teething discomfort? I would assume so. I would assume they do. I mean, I don't know, and how would we be able to measure it? I'm not sure. But I think they do. A great granny, I think they do. I can imagine, I would imagine those tusks growing can definitely cause a bit of pain, a bit of discomfort. But I don't think it's too bad. Probably eases fairly soon. This is such a nice view of these two. I would guess that might be her calf, that little one off to the left there. Now I know James saw a lion with a collar, and he touched on research up in the Mara and what research is done there. And there's research that constantly gets done throughout Southern Africa too, with animals and various organizations. Now there has been research on elephants, not just within the Sabi Sands, but within the greater Kruger, and it's research in terms of general movements. I know there were some elephants that had been collared in the Kruger, and that was just to monitor movement. So the collar would stay on for 2 or 3 years, and they would try and map the general movements of the animals. Look at that. I'm moving off quite quickly now. So they would map the movements and get an idea of the natural movement of the animals. Years and years ago, I'm talking probably 100 years ago, there was a natural corridor, for these animals to move, and almost like a migration, but they would head from where we are now in the Sabi Sands or Kruger, the greater Kruger. Animals like these elephant especially would head directly west of where we are. Now we've shown you the mountain range in the distance that you can see on clear days, the Drakensberg mountain range or the Blyde River Canyon. And these elephant would follow these elephant corridors. They'd move from here all the way up to that mountain range because there was more water and more vegetation. So they would go and feed there and stay there for the winter. So the winter months when it is dry here, they would head up into that area. But now obviously with again people taking over areas and the game reserves that have been set up and established, these animals don't move like that anymore. However, there is always food and water around for them, and there will still be general movements within these game reserves. So there's research on that, and research. So there is constantly research being done with the animals. To be honest, through my guiding career, I have not done or interacted with many researchers. From a guiding perspective, in the lodges I've worked at, we're really busy with guests and taking guests out on safari and showing them and interpreting the bush to guests. But I've not done research work with any researchers, so I'm not entirely sure of how much is still continuing. I know there's wild dog research, there's elephant research on the ground hornbills that we saw earlier. There is constantly research being done, but those teams often go into areas and they'll spend like a week or so, and then they take data, gather data, and then leave again, or they'll stay in specific camps. They've never stayed at camps that I've worked at because those lodges are predominantly geared for guests. So it's different areas. And Jeff, you asked how would we collar an elephant? Well, very carefully, Jeff, very carefully. What they do is they would dart the elephant, and predominantly it's difficult, but they would try and dart the matriarch most likely. So they would try their best to find the dominant female within the herd, because that would give them an accurate idea of where the animals move, or the areas that they move. So they would dart that female, try and keep the rest of the herd away for that period that they need. They'd move in with the team on the ground, and it's very quick. The teams are so good at doing it nowadays. They go through the collar. They literally they manage to slide it under the head of the elephant or the neck. Oh, we've got your southern black tits flying around, still watching for little birds. So what they do is they slide the collar underneath the neck, they'll quickly bolt it together, and then they'll get the elephant up and moving again. They don't take very long when they do that. Such a beautiful morning. I think we're going to head down towards Chitwa Dam, and Chastity, you asked if the animals maybe hurt themselves. Are you surprised that they don't hurt themselves trying to get the collars off? I think they've been designed, and the few collars that I've seen, and like I said, in these natural habitats, natural areas, none of the lions are collared, none of the leopards or anything. Okay, we had that one male leopard that was collared here, but they did that on purpose to try and locate him, because he had that run-in with a domestic animal, and he contracted rabies. So he was treated for that, because that was due to human intervention. That's a different story altogether. Naturally, most of the time out here, the predators and that, they don't have collars in these areas. It's just a natural system. The elephants, yes, they did collar because they wanted to work out the movements and that. But from what I've seen, the animals it doesn't harm them, it doesn't hurt them, it doesn't interfere with them. So it probably takes them a little while to get used to, and then they're fine. We thought about collaring James at one point just to monitor his movements, but it was a nightmare. And we couldn't find a serum strong enough to dart him, to put him to sleep. Well, let's speaking of James and the collar, let's go across to Sarky James this morning. He's been quite sarky, but that's why we love him. And apparently he has got no collar on, so we don't know where he is.
Byron is very hilarious. He's the funniest man in the whole of Johannesburg. Can you hear how funny he is? Yes, good. That is a spur-winged lapwing. And no, I'm not wearing a collar or a tie today. I should perhaps wear a tie every so often. Perhaps on Monday mornings I should be prevailed upon to wear a tie to work. But today I'm not wearing a tie. I'm just looking at a spur-winged lapwing. And I will tell you that I've investigated all the crossings. I have found very little activity. We found 5 or 6 wildebeest, 3 zebra, and 1 or 2 topi, but not much else going on here. No lions just yet. And we did also re-find the little wildebeest calf who'd run away from, or not run away, run in a different direction from the one that the lions went in. The lions went to sleep in the long grass. So now we are sort of heading along the tops of just, Craig, did you see that bird? It's a yellowish bird, and it's gone into the base. Ooh, I can see it now. Okay. Do you see where I'm looking? I'm looking at the base of this thicket here. There's a little bird at the base of that sort of tussock of grass. What is grass? Grass. You got in there? No, the big one. Keep going. That's it there. There we are. Well done. Now, this funny little bird had bright yellow wings. I don't know what that is. Oh, that's very special. It's a seed eater of some sort. Bright yellow wings when it flew. Couldn't begin to tell you what that is. Wow. Looks like a sort of weaver-type bird. Somewhere between a sparrow and a weaver. in amongst the grasses there. That's quite nice. I'm just going to quickly open my app and have a quick... Oh, no, I don't need my app. I've got a book. Let's have a quick look at the book. While I look at the book, we've got a hippo also just across the way there, out of the water still. And we'll just get Craig to show you that while I see if I can't find this bird. Any ideas? Gladly send them through #SafariLive or in the comment section of the YouTube broadcast. Wonderful. I think we're getting close in our little book. It's not a weaver. But I'm not sure if it's a sparrow either. It's not a wider. I don't think it's a canary. I'm 99% sure it is not a canary. We might be getting closer here. No. It just had such yellow wings, but maybe that wasn't the bird that I was looking at. Maybe it was the one on the ground or something different. I mean, it looks like a fairly sort of standard issue seed-eating wider or some female wider perhaps, but it's a bit big. Anyway, any ideas? Be lovely to hear from you. I'm afraid my birding knowledge in this area is not great on account of the fact that, well, we haven't been doing a great deal of birding lately. It just is a lovely morning out. A little bit cold, but very pleasant indeed. Yes, I don't know what that was. I'm going to give up now, and I'll have to find a more suitable book to discover it. Right, our plan is going to be from here to stick our heads over the top of the mountain from Serena, and we'll just go and look down towards the other side of the Mara River and see what's going on over there. While we do that, I believe Taylor is rather, I think not very nicely, looking for the ugly five.
We are indeed still looking for the ugly five. We've actually taken a break. Our main priority is to find where the big herds of wildebeest are and also where the lions are. But seeing as though we're passing through this area, we're looking for the jackal den. Now, I'm navigating with my phone. I saved a pin. I'm trying to find it. No, that's the wrong way, Taylor. Got to turn the car. I'm watching myself as I... Wait, maybe I can change it so I can actually see where I'm going. Oh, I think we're coming close. We're probably about 100 meters away or so. I found it at night. It was very difficult to, of course, remember what that looks like now. But we shall find it. And I don't know if they're going to be out. Maybe because it's quite cool. The little ones might be active. The adults might be hanging around after spending most of the night out scavenging. We definitely saw a lot of jackal running around last night. Mainly blackback jackal. I suspect that this is a side-striped jackal den though. Just from the coloration of those pups. I think it's this one over here. Let's go around. Now I want to give them a bit of a wide berth. Rebecca's now singing, find me a jackal, find me a jackal. I don't know why I think you're doing this, but I can just imagine you dancing like that in your chair, Rebecca, as well. She said she was. See how well we know each other in this team. If I go that way, which way does it make it turn? I think it is this one. Let me just have a proper squiz around here. It's one of these little sort of mounds. Obviously they've dug down into it. Huh. Darby, do any of these look familiar to you? I know, I think we're a little bit far off it. Okay, wait, let's hold on, Maurice. We're picking up the pace. We're actually a little bit further away, zoomed in. Now, apparently Maurice is not talking to me because I said that the Sabi sand elephants are my favorite. I'm not even sure if you are an African elephant, Maurice. Your ears are very small. You look more like an Asian elephant to me, so don't get sassy with me, young man. Teenagers. I'm trying to turn the car and follow the GPS. Okay, no, so that wasn't the mound. We've got to go this way. Isn't this funny that I'm using my phone in the middle of East Africa trying to navigate around? I think it's incredible. Woo! So much fun. Okay, we're getting closer. We have to be much closer now. There's a couple of Thompson's gazelle around here too. Oh, is it this one? I don't know now. Maybe. I remember I was a little bit away from it when I put the What have you got? Oh, there it is!